Scott DeVore here. I'm with Wes Deason, Jason Holland. We got a topic that we want to go over. Basically, you're a homeowner, you need a new roof. There's a lot to it. It's more than just signing a piece of paper, we get an estimate, and then a week later or whatever, new roof goes on. We're going to talk about all the different steps, all the different people who's involved to make a re-roof project happen. Wes, you got a phrase that you like to say, you throw it out a lot, called the cast of thousands. Why don't you kind of go into a little bit of kind of like step one, step two, and then so on and so forth, all the way through the the final stages of the actual product.
Yeah, we like to use the terminology cast of thousands. It's the army of one kind of scenario is not applying very well for roofing. Obviously we want to make the process very simple. We want the homeowner to feel very comfortable, feel like it's a very smooth operation, even though behind the scenes there could be a lot of things going on, and there's a lot of people that touch your file. I mean, from when an account comes in, just to get you to the phase where we can actually schedule you for install, takes a pile full of steps. I mean, we've actually drawn it out, and we've got over 20 steps that have to happen before we can actually even schedule your roof to go on. And then that doesn't even include spending the time, making sure that you as the homeowner know what's going to happen during that install and some of the things that could happen and be aware of, and all of those kind of things, all the way till we finally can get it closed out. And we got Jason here, who's my production manager at the company. So from everything from sales to production, there's a lot of pieces and parts, and I think a lot of homeowners sometimes, I know I've gotten the phone call before, hey, we wrote the check last week, when's our roof getting installed? And they think that it's supposed to happen just in a few days. And granted, there's many times that depending on the time of year, depending on how many installs we have going on, we could possibly put your roof on next week, and in that kind of short time frame. But the amount of process and people and items that it takes to go through is pretty intense, and just making sure you don't miss something so that everything gets done correctly, I think kind of gets lost in the shuffle. So, as a company, we focus all the time, we train all the time, we go through these things, we make sure we got all the right people in place so that you're in communication, what's going on, but as well, all the pieces and parts get taken care of. And so, that's kind of, a topic that sometimes gets overlooked as far as, what it takes to actually make sure that the homeowner feels like the project went very smooth.
What's the expectation for a homeowner as far as like a realistic timeline, and kind of break that down into like the main phases? So there's kind of the contractual phase of, basically coming to terms that they're going to choose us as their roofer. Then there's, steps that has to happen until then. And then whether it's, we do a lot of with insurance claims and things like that. So there's an approval process that needs to take place. Then once there is an approval, then there's the actual, working with the building department, because you have to pull a permit and everything. Then it goes into the next phase of production, which we'll have Jason touch a little bit upon. So why don't you talk about kind of the getting to a contract with the homeowner, all the way through the approval before it transitions to an actual production phase.
Gotcha. Well, you're always going to hear us say that everything starts with an inspection and a free inspection. And I know we've had these conversations before and had topics on that, but once we determine that your best option and in our professional opinion is a re-roof project where we're not just repairing, we're not just trying to add some longevity to your roof, we actually need to get this thing replaced, then it's really going to come down to the option of, do you have a way to go through possibly an insurance claim, and then that's going to take its own process in its own time, or paying out of pocket what we could just consider retail, where we can obviously speed up the process because we can eliminate a lot of parts if we're just going through a process with a homeowner to do a claim or to do a no claim retail contract, where you're going to just pay out of pocket when it's completed and we got it taken care of. But even from that, the sales process, just to kind of give you an idea, from the day that you meet the sales guy, get the estimate completed, have him come back maybe that same day, or maybe the next day just to meet with you and your wife, your spouse, whatever it is, to make sure that everybody's on the same page as far as what's going to happen. There's a couple days right there. We can get the estimates done very, very quickly for you. But even from that, you should plan on at least a couple 3 hours just spending some time with your sales guys to get to know who the company is, get to know what the project's going to take, what is it going to entail. Cost is obviously important, but to me, cost is only as important as the value that we provide. So if we provide no value, I don't care if we're the cheapest guys on the block or the most expensive, we're not probably going to be your first pick. So, to be able to get you guys that value, to understand who we are, what we do, what that process is, apples to apples, are we the same as everybody else? All those kind of different things, that's going to take a little time. And let's just say at that point in time, you're ready and you sign on the dotted line. Once it comes back to the office, it is going to take a couple days to get that account processed, get it into our, CRM system, our customer relation management system, get all the proper documentation put into place. And then from there, then it gets kicked over to production, where then they're going to take it and have to go through their steps, which I'll let, introduce Jason here, have him kind of take it from that next phase. But, during that process, now we're already into it for 3 or 4 days, just making sure that we've got all the paperwork and everything in place so that when it does go to production, it doesn't have to get kicked back, waste more time to try to figure some things out. But, I'll let Jason kind of explain this a little better as far as what does he do when he finally gets your file to get it ready for production, and maybe give you an idea of how long it'll take before we could possibly be putting your roof on. So, Jason, kind of take it from there. Once I pass a file or a file comes over to you, what's your next steps?
Yeah, once the file's been approved, the salesman's already been out, had a colors meeting with you. He's went through the color books, and not, like Wes said about adding value, explain the roofing process, what takes place. They're not just taking shingles off and throwing them right back on. The guys really got to go through. They don't know until they get out there during the install. They could potentially have to replace decking. They're going to pick your shingle color, but also at that colors meeting, they're going to explain the roofing process to you. Also, you've got ventilation on the house. They're going to explain what the ventilation is about. Potential upgrades in ventilation. Some people don't have the proper ventilation on your roof. So once I go through, I've got everything on your color selection sheet and your selection sheet in general. I begin the permit process. First, the salesman would have had you sign the NOC. First, I've got to record the notice of commencement. Then I've got to submit your permit. Now, one thing, we always want to make sure you've got to sign the permit prior to me sending it in. So from there, the permit process in different counties, they get backed up as long as everybody else. So sometimes it can take a couple days or a couple weeks in some counties. Sometimes they might get it back the same day. From there, once I finish the permit, then I've still got the materials I have to send out for material order. We all know many of the suppliers have been on back order at different parts and times through the year. And same thing with the colors. We do try to go through the process to make sure we went over the actual available colors that should be on hand with the supplier. So once I send out the material order to the supplier, I'll have an idea typically on what the delivery date they can make happen from that date. So sometimes, like Wes said, it could be a week out. It could be a couple weeks, just depending on the time of year. But we always communicate that with you, try to keep you. For an example as well, this week, as we're talking about it, we've had rain every day of the week. That pushes every install we've had this week out another week, which pushes next week installs out another week. So we can't control Mother Nature, but we're working on it every day. We're becoming more efficient. We're getting it done as quickly as possible and keeping you in the loop. That's the most important thing, is to communicate with you and keep you up to date with exactly what's going on with your install.
We're also, Jason, with that point, we're also, constantly adding on crews, which is a whole, another process, making sure that the crews are, qualified enough to do the projects the way that we want them done. That's all the way through cleanup and everything else that has to happen at the end of your job so that you're happy. Not all crews are built the same. You can drive around your neighborhood, and I'm sure you've seen roofs go on in your neighborhood, plenty of them. And that's a lot of different people, up on those different roofs. And I've worked with some good crews over my years, and I've worked with some crews that I would pass on, and let's choose somebody else. And so we're fortunate enough. We've got some really good crews, but once we do get a little backlog or delay, we have to look at possibly bringing on another crew so that we're not having to push those installs out so far, due to weather, do whatever the circumstances are. And so I was just thinking about it as Jason was talking, the amount of people, when we talk about that cast of thousands, you think by the time you get the county people involved with your permit, the supplying company, going on with your material, your crews, your internal processes and everything, I bet you there's 30 to 50 people involved in your roof project in one form or another by the time you've gotten your roof done. Which if you think about it, that's a lot of contacts and a lot of things going on to make sure that we get it right, And so, as our topic today is the cast of thousands and just kind of giving you guys an idea of, what it takes, we feel like this is just a really good topic because, I would say, Scott, it gets overlooked all the time, being able to talk about these kind of things.
It gets overlooked. And as you mentioned, it could be 50, it may even be a lot more than 50 people. So our role really is, we're the first point of contact. So even though there's a lot of different entities who touch the roof, the homeowner is looking at us to basically be the quarterback, the conductor, orchestrating everything. So we're managing our own internal staff. We're managing, the building department. We're managing the claims team. We're managing our crews. We're managing the dumpster. We're managing the supplier. And, our role at DeVore Capital is really being that, that POC, that point of contact that the homeowner, the first, if they have to make a call, they call us first, and then they know that, they're in good hands because we're handling every single one of those aspects of the roof, and they can trust us that everything's going to be done as you mentioned. So it's just, to them, it's just a seamless process. Where a lot of other people, the reason why we're doing this topic is, companies like us, we try to pride ourselves of, excelling at what we do, so we make it look easy, but
Right.
they don't really truly understand all the different components, people, and processes involved, and from the start, to the finish, to the the final cleanup, picking up that last debris or that nail that may have been missed.
Getting your certificate of completion, making sure that you've got that copy, when to throw away the permit packet so it doesn't have to sit on your front door anymore, all of those kind of things, so that at the end of the job, the most important thing is that you're happy. The most important thing is that your roof is solid, because it's the number one thing that protects your home. And we take that very seriously here at DeVore, that's for sure. And want to make sure that, I think Scott hit it on the head, as we go through that process, you want to just feel comfortable that, yeah, there might be all these things going on, but you guys know exactly what you're doing, and that we care about it to make sure that that process is seamless and easy for you as the homeowner or the building owner, or whatever it is that we're working with in that process. So, we just love to get these chances to, spend some time with you guys, talk to you, kind of give you an idea of what's going on. That's our topic today, Cast a Thousand. Scott, Jason, appreciate you guys being here. Anything last thing to add before we sign off on this one?
Yeah, hopefully the last thing that we do is, the customer, you're happy with us and you're giving us a review and a referral. And if we get that from you, we know that we've done a good job.
And we really appreciate the reviews. Thank you.